This, of course, is the last meeting for over the millage rate, and the possible of a millage rate increase, thank God, as we go forward. I'm going to run over, this is what was started the meeting off here in the last few times. I'm going to go ahead and run through it right quick. The increases that we're looking at, that everybody's looking at, elected officials, department heads, is the health insurance increase is going from about 10 to about 15%. The preliminary fiscal year 2017 budgets reflect increases of general government, 120,000, judicial, 253,000, sheriff, 548,000, EMS, 911, EMA, and fire, 159,000, public works, 243, culture and recreation, 44,000, housing and development, 44,000. It comes up to a total of $1,411,000. Now this is the draft or the proposed 2017 budget from all the elected officials. That's what this is right here. These have not been approved, and we haven't got into the budget process. The millage rate we're talking about tonight is for 2016. And what's got some people confused, if I may, back in 1988, best we can figure, it kind of got flipped on how the millage rate is set. The millage rate that is set today is for the 2016 budget that we're already in. You would think you would set the millage rate first and then work through that through your budget for that year. For some reason in 1988, I can't remember who the commissioner was at that time, this thing got flipped and we don't know. Alan tried to look it up, a few of us tried to look it up to see exactly why it did that. We don't know. But anyway.
I talked to two previous commissioners recently and the previous finance director, and they said it was not like that when the last commissioner left office. It had never been like that.
Alan.
Never been like that. I'm talking
Joey,
to the finance director.
Alan.
Last year, I remember that we did that, was the last year of Billy Newton's administration. There was we budget a year out, basically.
But anyway, that's what we're going. We've always budgeted a year out. So best we can see, and with the computer programming or with the computer websites that we've got, that's what it is. But that being said, that's what we've got to deal with. At this time, Ms. Fay, you want to give them a preview of what we're looking at? You should have got a handout of this right here. And most of y'all hopefully got a handout of this right here. If you haven't, we got a few more left. And this is the millage rate right side by side comparison of neighboring counties. But it's also on the back sheet. Has got that. If it goes up 1 mil, it'll give you a comparison of a $150,000 house, a $200,000, and a $300,000. What the increase would be on that for 1 mil. I have. Right. You got it? Here, I can hold mine. You can hold mine. Some of y'all asked quite a few questions here the last time. This information here is a state law required on school senior tax exemption is in this pamphlet right here. So if you look at paragraph 2, it gives you what the process is to start working towards a school tax exemption for Pickens County, who you need to talk to. All right, Ms. Fay, have you got anything else? Did I covered it all? Okay. Ms. Becky, you want to go ahead and run it for a while? Okay. What we got? We got a lot of the elected officials here, so we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm Robert Teagle. You've been the sole commissioner for County of the last 12 years.
I've been sole commissioner for up until 2010, and we went to three-person board.
Long time.
Yes.
Okay, you kind of pretty much are still, to be honest with you. So, if you don't like the way the budget's arranged, then why couldn't you have change?
The only way you can change it is the fact that you'd have to have 2 taxing cycles in 1 year.
Well, one time, just one time?
Just one time. But you'd have to have 2 taxing cycles in
There
1
had to
year.
be changed, right?
It would probably need to be changed, get it back on.
You indicated in the last meeting that you inherited that.
It was inherited.
Well, if you have the power to change it, let's change it then.
Well, as long as everybody agrees that we need to do two taxing cycles in 1 year.
Can I explain to them what's up with finances? I mean, I've explained it before.
When you do it quick, George.
When you start a year out, when, in 2004, Billy Newton handed him a proposed budget for the following year. We had some odd, now Faye, you correct me if I'm wrong, $6 to $8 million in the bank. When you start that year with $6 to $8 million in the bank, you don't have to have any money to start the year. We collected our taxes in February. We didn't have to pay them until February. And then when you continuously, 06, 07, 08, 9, 10, you continuously spend more than you take in every year. The expenditures outweigh the revenues by somewhat $1.5 to $8 million. You get behind. Then you start borrowing these things called TANs, and you started out at $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. Then you have to start collecting your taxes that current year to pay that TAN off. So that's when we got behind, because of overspending.
That is not completely true. Yes, sir.
It is.
Well, tell the truth then.
That is the truth.
Well, you just said it wasn't true.
I said that wasn't completely true. Yes,
You don't
sir.
even know what you said.
I went to Ingles yesterday and I wanted to get 6 steaks. They told me the price of them. I didn't have that much money. Well, I said, it's in my budget. Why can't I get them? They said, listen, Mr. Weaver, you'll have to cut your budget back and take ground beef. What is wrong with us trimming our budget? I know a lot of you in here that lived a lot different a few years ago. You know, I don't never hear anybody want to cut the budget. It's just, give me more money, give me more money. Let's get back and eat some ground beef for a while. I'll eat it now. It won't kill you.
Private sector has had to sacrifice over the last.
Pardon, I'm sorry. I can't hear you. Do what now?
The private sector, self-employed people have had to cut back, and yes, our health insurance has gone up, but the government, and this is probably why people like Trump or whoever are making a big deal, because the government expends and they don't cut back, they don't take pay cuts. We've taken pay cuts for years, and nobody else has taken pay cuts. And it's at a point that it's not fair. It's just not fair.
Go.
I had a couple of questions for Harvey. And these are budget questions. It sounds like the increases are because of increases in health insurance.
Yeah.
Or that's what the paper said. So my question is, what is an employee's premium for their health insurance insurance? And what is their deductible for their health insurance?
Don't know what every employee deductible. We got a breakdown sheet of what that is because we reworked the healthcare policy here. Even if you got over 50 employees by the Obama plan, you have to furnish insurance to your employees. But Faye, you want to break that down?
Right now, the total county annual.
Use the mic.
Okay. The total annual county expenditures for health insurance for all the employee insurance is around 2.7 million. So we're looking at a 10 to 15% increase. So that's about $270,000.
How much of that is the employee themselves paying?
The employee, if they have employee-only coverage, they pay $52.54 every month.
Out of what?
Out of 641, county pays 588. The employee and spouse, they pay $279.44 a month, and the total monthly is $13.46. That's 79% that the county pays. Employee and child, the county pays 82%. The employee pays 18%, which is $226. Employee and family, the county pays 76%, and the employee pays 24%, which is $470 a month.
This is the problem.
There's the problem.
I have do we know what the deductible is? Is it 1,500, 1,200, 900 before the policy?
Paula, what is the deductible?
It's 1,500.
1,500.
1,500. To give you an example, My wife has a $6,300 deductible, and she pays $500 a month.
A month for my
A
health
month.
insurance.
I have a $3,500 deductible, and I pay $700 a month for my health insurance.
Yeah, the real
Now,
world.
the,
That's the
you're,
real
you're
world.
asking,
That's the real world.
you're
Are you
asking
making
me,
$12 an hour?
I'm making a little bit more than $12 an hour.
Yeah, but
It
But,
doesn't matter, Donnie,
it's
that
different.
really, that's not a point.
But I'm just saying, my employees working in the jail, if
There's
they're
three
making
types.
$12 an hour, they cannot afford health insurance. And they're not gonna work for us in the jail, doing the job that they have to do at $12 an hour. They're not gonna stay.
Well,
Be
there's
like the
three,
rest of us and get a second job.
there's
Well,
three,
they do, they work, what, 2 and 3 jobs apiece.
there's three levels of health insurance in the private sector. There's those of us that are stuck on Medicare with no option, so we have Medicare. There is the family, anybody from say, let's just pick 28 to 63, with children, college, and everything else. And just like this gentleman and this lady are speaking, they're paying probably half to 2/3 of their health insurance. Their deductibles are off the charts, $9,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever. And then there's the younger people who don't pay any health insurance because they can't afford it and they will pay the fine. So in the private sector, we don't have the option of paying $52 and having our employer pick up $600. I mentioned this 2 years ago when we were going through that budget review. Government employees don't get a better deal than their employer. If the insurance costs are going up, then the government employee has to foot that bill. Or you get a different plan that has a much higher deductible. It's absurd that people in the private sector have gotten their brains beaten in them. And just like this government study where we're wondering what's different counties, where this $40,000 study, it didn't take into account anything about the taxpayer and the private sector. So we just look at government versus government versus government like the real world doesn't exist. And the county employee, you know, I feel bad for you if you make $12 an hour and you've got a bill. But that puts you in the same boat as all the rest of us. Instead of in a boat where you're covered and as increases come on, you get covered again and the taxpayer pays that as well as their own. This is absurd. There is no way in the world that the employees of the private sector taxpayer get a better deal than that private sector taxpayer. And this county has paid no attention to that for the entire 8 years since the economy collapsed. Rob, I'll give you credit. You have cut in the county. You've cut the number of employees. You guys have tried to work that a little bit. Maybe some of the other groups have as well, but I don't think so. I think it has been pretty much just within your group. But this idea that we are in a bottomless wallet, we've tried to point that out for years now, and nobody has paid attention to it. Other counties have taken their millage rates down, they have reduced property taxes. This county has gone up 3 times before this one in the past 8 years. And there is no reality there. For the taxpayer, every dollar that we get when we raise millage rates goes to something for a government employee. It doesn't go to roads, it doesn't go to water, it doesn't go to infrastructure. We have SPLOST and sales taxes for those, which we should never have needed. But we just keep saying, okay, taxpayer, here, we're gonna hit you with some more sales tax, we'll pass another SPLOST, but all of these property taxes and everything that we get from the government in Atlanta, when the state doles out the various income tax and everything else they do, it goes to government employees. So we've got this thing completely out of whack. We have got the tail wagging the dog, and that's gotta stop. This is nonsense.
Yes, ma'am. No, well,
As an employee, I want to tell you that when we look at salaries, whether it's a new employee coming in or an existing employee, the money that the county pays for our insurance is included in that salary. So like Donnie was saying, if it's $12 an hour, then you add that 600, 500, whatever, the insurance, and that's your salary. We don't make a lot of money. Our same employees are working 2 and 3 jobs. Our same employees, including me, are paying these property tax that y'all are complaining about. So you have to look at both sides. We're paying the taxes, but when they set our salaries, it includes the insurance benefits. And I think that's what people are not understanding. You think we get a salary and then we get the insurance on top of it. It's not, it's all in one.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, part of my concern is with the medical insurance that we're all talking about, employees and individual people on Medicare, whatever. And it all goes into part of what really jumped out at me was the sheriff's office wants more than double the next highest request. $548,000 to go to the sheriff. Now there might be, obviously there are some descriptions of what it's going for, but the inmate's medical care budget is a huge part of that. They're doubling the nurses' hours from 8 to 16, which will of course be an increase. They're expecting a new medical staff salary contract at an increase to be $300,000. It's not just a percentage, it's $300,000 probably to go again to something that's a medical thing. The medical needs also, in terms of prescriptions and medical supplies for the inmates, rises from $14,500 to a proposed $40,000. We're talking about 135 inmates, and the population of Pickens County is 29,600 people. There's something wrong with that. I say you please do not vote on this proposal until somebody takes a good hard look at these requests and how insane that is compared to everything else.
Well, ma'am, you are welcome to come by the jail. I will share with you all those numbers, and I will listen to any suggestions that you have.
Well, they didn't happen just last night. You can't just do that in one fell swoop. 1 year, all of a sudden, it goes up 13.84.
This is something we have been working on our entire.
Well, maybe you need to have meetings with the citizens, have them, some experts. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think this is the right answer.
And to everybody, you know, what you see there is 2017 proposed budget. Proposal. We haven't got to that, working those details out yet. And hopefully we can have some cuts in that when we get there, that we're all going to sit there and work towards that point. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to touch back on benefits because we heard an hourly rate back here, not how much they're making, but the fact that the benefits are included in your salary rate. This Pickens County, I guess, has a pension plan.
We do.
Is it fully funded?
No. What we did, we changed the pension plan this year for all the employees, because it used to be Pickens County taxpayers paid 100% of that pension plan. We redid it this year and got it set up to where they've got some skin in the game, to where it's taking some of the liability off the county taxpayers as we go through and get this. As people retire, get out of the plan, everything's going to be cleared up, and then we'll have more money.
Do you also have a 401k plan?
It's not called 401k, it's a 457.
Is it in addition to the pension?
Pardon?
Is it in addition to the pension?
No.
Employees that were here prior to January 1st of last year were included in the defined contract or defined benefit.
Contribution plan.
Now anybody that came in July or January 1st after is in defined contribution, and anybody that was in the defined benefit plan started paying 5% of gross salary into the plan.
And my point is that Pickens County is a fairly poor county. We don't have jobs that have pensions or this type of pay-as-you-go retirement plan. All we have is one where we contribute. We don't have health insurance. Many of the companies here don't pay insurance because they can't afford it. But the county employees have pensions, they have paid health insurance, they have decent salaries that are more than most people in the county make. At $12.50 an hour, that's probably more than half the people in the county make per hour, and we don't get those benefits. So now you're asking us to pay our increase in health insurance, because ours is gonna be just as big, if not bigger, and pay your increases in health insurance. So something's just totally wrong
Well,
with that situation.
And to give you a heads up, fact, Pickens County is a tier 4 county, which means we're one of the richest 16, out of 159 counties, we're one of the richest 19 counties in the state. Why, I don't know, other than, you know, a few areas maybe that skew the numbers, but Pickens County is considered a rich county. Tier 4 is one of the richest counties in the state. We've argued with DCA by the tier status, because that does limit to some of the grants and all that we receive, either through the school system or through the county, on account of those issues, but they will not capitulate.
My question's for Becky. You remember back in 2012 at the first tax increase, me and you talked, and I said the county's finances is in a whirlwind. Well, we had a finance director to resign. We hired Miss Fay. I'm glad she's here. She's been here about 2 weeks. She turned in her resignation. We had a meeting with all the department heads, y'all did, that morning, and found out what was really going on in the county, that our finances was in a pickle. That evening, we had a commissioners meeting, and I think I sat by Donnie. And Donnie looked at me and he said, "You was right," said, "We're in a pickle." At that point, y'all decided to keep revenues as they was, and we were gonna cut $1 million out of the spending. If we would have stayed on track with that, it would have took us roughly 12 years to get our fund balance back to where it was gonna be. What has you and Jerry done to see that $1 million was cut after we left?
Sure.
Okay, thank you for the question. We did not actually end up cutting that full amount that year. I think we ended up somewhere around 600, if I'm remembering right. And we have tried, but it's just like everything else. Things come up. It's not as easy as it looks. And I would like to address the guy that said Rob still appears to be sole commissioner. I find that rather insulting. I understand where you're coming from. First of all, you have to understand the 3-person board. You have a commission chair and 2 post commissioners, and they're very different roles. The commission chair is the CEO of the county. He's responsible for all of the employees and the operations. Now, we can have a say at the department head level, and if you think we don't have a say, I hope these to never talk about how loud I can get in those executive sessions. We are allowed to go in executive sessions and we can discuss employees, and we have made a lot of changes. We have cut some fat out of the budget, maybe some positions we were able to cut and not replace. I'm really proud of a lot of the things we've done, and my husband on the front row, I know he would love to stand up and tell you how many hours that I'm on my phone at home with county business. So I do want you to know, for the $13,000 a year that the 2 of us get, you're getting such a deal, whether it's us or the people that follow us. But you honestly do, want this 3-person board. There is accountability there. Not saying that Rob didn't do a good job as sole commissioner, but I think it's worked out really well. I think all of us would tell you that. And we do get in and hammer out a lot of things in executive sessions, and I think things, and I appreciate Joe saying that, because in our area we have been striving to stay on track with what we promised to do. It has not been easy. But then, after saying all of that, let me just say to you that I have heard what you're saying. I have listened to every phone call. I have read every email, and I hear you. I understand you totally. But we have to listen to this, and then we listen to the department heads and their needs. And a lady, I think, sitting right there where Dan Poole is, vocally said, "I want to give the sheriff and public safety what they need," and everybody applauded. Well, you know, we have a great sheriff in Pickens County, great sheriff staff, employees, they're all wonderful. Public safety has taken a beating over the past year or so, and I appreciate them and appreciate what they do. And yes, there probably are some things that we could all look at, But honestly, you have to know that we can't have it both ways. We can't say, give the sheriff everything he wants. Well, there's no money there without a tax increase. So you have to understand what we are dealing with, that you just can't have it both ways. But anyway, thanks for the comment.
And if I may say a few other things, as for what we're responsible for here, we have combined a lot of our jobs. We have done away with some positions that we've got and combined them to kind of streamline the individuals that we're responsible for. But, yes, sir, go ahead.
I don't know how many people here are big canoe. I just have an information question. What portion of the taxes are paid by property owners in big canoe?
60%.
How many?
16%.
16%.
1/6?
Yes.
1/6.
Okay. Secondly, what do you provide for big canoe in terms of services?
They don't.
3, how many people in the penitentiaries are from big canoe?
Basically, Big Canoe, the people there choose to be in Big Canoe for superior services, you know.
I understand that.
We have, but what Pickens County has done for the Big Canoe area is the fact that we went and run we've got an 8-inch main runs out there. We have tied on the Big Canoe water system to help supply you water, which we've been supplying water to Big Canoe.
Yeah, which we pay 4 times what anyone else pays for water around the country.
Well, you have your own water service. We're just there to back you up, and you guys sit on those boards, I guess, up there to run your own water system. But there is thing we keep the well, but you did choose to live behind the gates, and that's true.
Yes, but
yes,
we want a choice on how much tax we pay. When our pay from Social Security went down last year, I don't expect a 14% increase on the 2 properties that have that. I want to pay them. We'll see about that.
Yeah, Joe.
Let me just make one more quick point on the medical, and then I wanted to talk about the sheriff. To the lady that said that, your $12, you have it in your salary, the $12 private sector worker doesn't. Every company since Obamacare came out has stated a 30 and under threshold because nobody can afford to give their employees health care. So that $12 an hour guy has to go out and pay his own health care as a single individual with no approved rate or pay a fund. And that's happening to a lot of these families. These 42, 43-year-old couples with kids, they have 2 part-time jobs so that they stay under that 30-hour threshold in both, don't get health care. They got to go foot the bill entirely for a whole family. So that's the point I want to make on the disparities in health care if you're government or if you're private sector. And then just one other thing on Donnie's group. I don't know if everybody was here when Donnie went through it, I guess the morning meeting last week. A lot of what he faces is federal mandates or state mandates. So he doesn't have an option on some of that, but we need local government to push back when they have state or federal mandates of any kind. Government has the habit of saying, nothing we can do about it. The state made us, or the federal government made us. The only way that they stop shoving stuff down your throat is when you push back. So I'm not saying that Donnie can solve this overnight. I'm not saying that I agree that Donnie needs all the money he needs. But there are federal mandates, and as our government, whoever you are, whether you're judicial, commissioners, sheriff, probate, you guys need to push back on behalf of the taxpayer, because state and federal government are that much further removed, and they just tell you, take it out of somebody's pocket. This is what you're going to do. So we need to see that kind of pushback. We need to get our state reps. I don't know if Rick Jaspers is here, but we need to get state reps working with you guys to push back on the stuff that we don't know about.
Is there a chance we could get out of that 4-tier type, or what did you call it?
We have tried for years. Even the mayor of Jasper, we've all went down there and tried to argue with DCA over the Tier 4 status. What they base that on is, number one, is the amount. When the feds come in here and do a survey every 10 years, do a population census, part of that survey is your salary, or what you've got invested, what you've made all your life. That's part of that census. So what happens, in our opinion, it skews the numbers. And a lot of you guys sitting here have been blessed over the years. You've done well in business. You've made some good money. But the federal government counts that. But what happens is when you have a group that has made a lot of money, those numbers go against groups on the other side of the county that haven't done so well. So, but everybody's thrown in the same pot. It's averaged out, and it's based on the income. So that's why you get into a tier 4 status. Yes, Steve?
All right, well, I promise I was gonna be quiet for that. Instead of throwing rocks on Grove Solutions, you throw into your budget for a new tractor with boom arm, 2 new service vehicles, 2 new ambulances.
We voted in the preliminary budget. These two individuals here haven't looked at all that yet.
So
Yes.
let's think about something. We spent $160,000 on a new dump truck, right?
Yeah, because the one,
Why didn't we buy it?
because we couldn't find one with warranty on it that would hold up. The problem we had at the time. We tried.
Wait, no.
Go ahead.
There's no need that we can't buy those vehicles that are needed. Not saying they're not needed, but we don't need to go out and spend brand new vehicles.
Well, Steve, I'd recommend, anybody else here, these budget hearings are open to the public. Please come in when the sheriff's budget comes before the commissioners. When the judicial comes before the commissioners. When all that comes forward, you're more than welcome to be there.
Well, the word on the street this week is that, that they're moving, items out of one line item to cover for over expenditure in another line item, like on vehicles that they spend.
We can save a lot of money.
Let's say that they budget $40,000 or whatever on a vehicle, then they go spend 60, they're moving it out of another line item to cover that. Has that took place? Does anybody know? That's just the word on the street.
They can do that with budget transfer.
They can do that with
So they've been doing that. Do you know of any that's happened this year like that?
Yes.
Would you care to tell us what's happened?
Microphone,
The vehicle that the sheriff purchased was not budgeted. So he moved money around in his budget to cover that.
To cover
Right
a new
now.
vehicle? That wasn't in the
Right.
budget?
I didn't hear you. What?
Is this on? Can y'all hear me?
It's on.
The money for the vehicle that you bought was not in the budget originally, so you did a budget transfer to cover that, right?
I don't remember if we actually had it budgeted in there or not. I thought we had it.
No, is Jeff here?
I see Jeff anywhere.
Yeah, he did
But I know we
a
did
budget
move
transfer.
money within our budget.
Yeah, they're allowed to do budget transfers.
It didn't change that.
It didn't change the bottom.
Didn't change the bottom line.
But what I'm getting at, did it take money out of maintenance and repairs?
No.
Donnie, would you like to, I'm gonna move this meeting on. Donnie, you want to say anything before I proceed on? All right, one more question, go ahead. One more.
I just have one comment. I noticed where the valuation for motor vehicles dropped by $12,405,000 this year.
Yes, sir.
That's because the people are so poor that they can't afford a new vehicle.
No, that's not true.
What is the truth?
The truth is on the
If it dropped by $12 million.
if you let me, Sharon, you want to explain it or you want me to explain it?
The reason for the drop in motor vehicles.
Listen, guys.
The TABT, now, when you buy a vehicle, instead of paying ad valorem tax on your vehicle, you pay a one-time fee, a TABT fee. And once you pay that, as long as you own that vehicle, you pay $20 on your, if you don't pay any more tax, it's a $20 fee. That, because of the ad valorem tax being done away with, motor vehicle values came down. Or not the value, but the ad valorem tax went away, and it's caused a decrease in motor vehicles. And that's why.
Well, this says motor vehicle valuations.
The cars don't go on the digest anymore. Instead
Yeah,
of
cars
tax
don't go
go on the digest, they came off.
I think all I'd like to say is that as a resident of Pickens County, I would just like to see the employees pick up more of the increases to their costs so that the county taxpayer doesn't have to pick up our increased costs and your increased costs. And that seems fair to me.
And please, when we have these budget hearings, we'll be glad, you're invited to come when these budget hearings get
Well,
started.
we're having the vote on the taxes, increase now.
We're voting on the 2016 budget and possible increase on the 2017.
Brother, what we need is, the working sector don't have time to come to all these meetings. It's really hard. We're hoping our elected officials are watching out for us. We can't stop what we're doing. We're all using one vehicles. You know, and if we stop what we're doing, we sure can't afford to pay our taxes. It's the reason we're hiring y'all to do the job for us. But you gotta stay under budget. When you get over budget, we can't stand it. And we sure can't, it takes working more and more and more hours. And like he's saying, you call it what you want to. It's not ad valorem tax, it's a TAVT tax. That just means you get it all up front instead of spreading it out over 10 years to keep the car. Mine's a 06, 250,000 miles. I definitely need a new vehicle, or at least a better one, but it's not going to happen, not for years. You know, it's not fun when you pull out the road and the transmission slip.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
We all have to live within our budget. Our wife, when they go to the grocery store, they pay what your wife does. And our income doesn't go up. So why should the counties go up? I mean, we've lived the same amount in the county for 4 or 5 years. I've lived on my budget for all my life. Why can't the county live on theirs?
Yes, sir.
That's been we get our streets fixed. I've lived in Pickens County for 10 years. There hasn't been anybody out to fix any potholes and stuff. I call here and they tell me, well, we don't cover that area.
I get with you after the meeting, we'll talk about that.
All right.
I have no, I don't know.
Mr. Jones, I just got a quick comment to make about the census. When you do the census, don't put down your income, that'll get the tier change. You don't have to put your income down. All I answer on a census is my name, my address, and there's 2 people living in this house over 65. I do not put an income down. So when you fill one out, leave it blank, there's nothing they can do about it.
Yes, make it quick, yes, please.
Just 2 parts on the question. One is, will the full voting commission have access to this video? And secondly, with the ad valorem going away on an annual basis, as was described for the one time, was that not budgeted for?
We have absorbed it, as we have done in our area that we have cut back on the last 2 years. We have absorbed that loss in the ad valorem through our area that we're responsible for. The issue we had is the state, through our representatives, promised us that they would make the counties whole when they took a hit. We haven't received a check yet. We were one of the few counties, small counties, that had three dealerships in here. Everything went to TAVT. You don't collect sales tax anymore, and you don't do the ad valorem. So yeah, Pickens County took a hit because we were selling a lot of cars.
Were all counties not reimbursed the difference?
I can't speak for all counties. I can speak for ours. Yes, sir.
Yet we're still the 16th richest county in Georgia.
One of the 18, yes, sir.
Do what?
Well, one of the 18, but yes.
One of the 18.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we're all broker than ever.
That's why I said don't put your income down.
I don't even pay taxes yet. But y'all are not giving me anything to look forward to.
He didn't answer the first part. Will the full voting commission have access to, do they view these videos? And if not, when is the full board?
We are the full. This is the full board here.
Okay. So everyone who's voting is here?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started on the county meeting tonight. It's after 5:30. We need to go ahead and get up and going. Call this to order. Right now, if you all please, Brother Edmund, I'm going to have to do a moment of prayer, please. Everybody, if you would.
Come on, stand. Lord, we thank you for your mercy that's been its flowing stream all the days of our life. I pray, oh Lord, that we'd come to the realization of we're all just humans and we should love one another and press forward to the common cause of having a community that we could travel in and have a feeling for each other. I pray, oh Lord, that you direct our officials, direct us as taxpayers, that we, oh Lord, would come together in a group to try to benefit all of our people. The poorest person in the world, Lord, you died for that one just as you did for me. I pray, oh Lord, that you'd keep us all, that you'd help us, oh Lord, as we go forward, that we might do thy will. I thank you, Lord, for your precious Savior, for what you did for me. I ask this in thy name and for our sake. Amen.
Amen. Please be standing. We're going to do pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Let's see here. Miss Deborah, let's see. Amendments to the agenda on item 3. Let's see. We have okay. Right here. Okay, amendments to the agenda. We're going to remove item number 2 under item B under the rezone request. Is that correct?
It was sent to us by the Planning Development Director for some Chapter 74 utilities revisions and modifications, and he and the county attorney asked me to remove it. They're going to a little more time to work on it.
All right. Thank you very much. And we didn't have any other.
This one, Bill Randall.
All right. We have another amendment to the agenda, come from the county attorney in regard to some bonds from the chairman of the Development Authority of Pickens County. We're writing, let's see here.
To have a placement agent.
Yeah, this is just an agreement for a placement agent will not sell the securities directly to investors, but will merely introduce the issuer to us. Item 6 right there. All right, and then we've got, is that the only one we got?
About the bridge.
All right, we've got one here that as of, we were able to receive $125,000 from GEMA on a bridge that was washed out up on off of Price Creek Road. The overall cost of that particular bridge is $288,000. I just want to give you a heads up on that. We are not going to vote on this tonight. We would like to look at it, because we might need to set that out for some more bid packages, because I think the last one we got was $288,000 for replacement of the bridge. We have got one lane open, so we'll just hold to that one.
That is in their packets in the back.
Okay. All right. So then that brings us to item number 4, approval of the agenda. I need a move and a second for the approval of the agenda. So moved.
Second.
Have a move and a second. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, let know by saying aye. Aye. None opposed, thank you. All right, the agenda has been approved. All right, item number 5. Normally this time we have employee recognition. I believe this month we have no employees to recognize as of this time for this particular month. So I'm going to proceed on to item number 6. Finance report. Faye Harvey, if you would, please. Jim, see if you can cut the light up where everybody can see that screen a little bit better, if that helps. Does that help?
Yes. Okay.
All right.
And I probably just got mine.
All right, here you go, Ms. Faye.
Okay. This is the finance, the budget financial report for the 2016 budget at the end of August, effective August 31st, and that is 8 months of our fiscal year. 2/3 of the year is gone, so the expenditure budget should be at 66.7% or less. First, we'll go over The revenues, the total general fund revenues collected through the end of August was $8,508,982, and that's 35.72% of the overall revenue, which is good for this time of year. The majority of our revenue is in the taxes line, and a lot of that is collected later on. Going through the expenditures, under the general government function, the total general government expenditures through the end of August is $2,068,843. That's 65.58%. In the judicial functions, the total expenditures are $2,047,387, and that is 60.35%. Under public safety, sorry about that, the total public safety expenditures so far is $7,610,000, and that's 62.61% of the budget. Next we go to the public works function. Their expenditures are $1,534,524, and that's 54.86%. The health department, senior center, and the MATS program expenditures are $441,468, and that's 55.86%. For culture and recreation, expenditures so far are $604,688, and that's 65.09%. In housing and development, the total expenditures are $368,324, and that is 60.65%. So the total general fund expenditures through the end of August is $14,675,232, and that is 61.6% of the budget, the total budget. So overall, it's a little over 5% under budget right now. We'll go to the enterprise, the proprietary funds. The water department expenditures so far are $1,124,257. That's 54.39%. The airport expenditures are $159,876, and that is 42.58%. The line item budget reports were sent to the elected officials and department heads on September 12th, and I have all the line item budgets if you would like to look at them. And I think that's all I have. Any questions?
You have questions?
All right.
I have one question.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Question. Out of order.
All right. All right, that brings us down to item number 7 under the consent agenda. Ms. Deborah, do we have anything on the consent agenda? No, sir. All right. That brings us down to item number 8 under old business. Do we have any old business, Deborah? No. All right. Item number 9, do we have any new business? I don't think we got any new business either, do we? All right. Under new business, this right here, this is the attorneys want us to do along with the Development Authority. They just want the ability to, for me to sign for placement agent, well, not sell securities, but just a placement agent for the Development Authority of Pickens County. I need to move a second to give me the authority to sign for a placement agent for that.
Second.
I have a move and a second. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, let know by saying aye. Aye. Good, thank you. All right. Brings us down to action items. Under action item number A, approved minutes. As most of y'all, we have sent you the minutes for the regular board meeting on August 18th, 2016. Any additions or deletions to that particular minutes to that meeting? Need a move and a second to approve. Have a moving second to approve. Any further discussion on that? All that in favor, let it know by saying aye. None opposed, thank you. That meeting was approved. We had a call meeting on August the 29th on 2016. You have got the minutes on those. Any additions or deletions that you saw on those particular minutes? All right, need a move and a second to approve.
Second.
Move and a second to approve those minutes. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, let it know by saying aye. None opposed, thank you. Brings us down to number 3 under work session at September the 1st, 2016. You have got a copy of those minutes for that particular work session. Any other additions or deletions that you see need to come in part of that? None being, all that, anything I need a move and second for approval?
Second.
Moving a second. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, let it know by saying aye. None opposed, thank you. Been approved. All right, we've had a item number B on a rezone request. We've had a conditional use request in RZO 7-16-1209, Sandy Dunn and Wanda Blaylock, with special events venue. The let's see if this is it right here. Pardon? Yeah, thanks, Jim. Turn the light back on. Pickens County Planning and Development Office received a completed application on July 26, 2016 from Sandra Dunn and Wanda Blaylock, requesting a conditional use in the land use classification of agriculture on 43 acres located at 9934 Highway 53 West, Talking Rock, Georgia. The intended purpose of the conditional use request, if approved, would be to utilize this parcel of land for special events venue, i.e. weddings, birthday parties, class reunions. In the land use intensity district ordinance, a special events venue is permitted as a conditional use under the agricultural classification. The venues will be held either in front of the brick home or in the barn located on the property. A public hearing was held on the 12th of September 2016 regarding this application in the Pickens County Commissioners meeting room before the Pickens County Planning Commission. After reviewing the application, receiving the staff report, and listening to testimony from the applicant and no one from the surrounding neighborhood in attendance, the Pickens County Planning Commission voted 5 yes, 0 no to approve the conditional use request on a 43-acre parcel contained on tax map parcel 034-099-002 with condition that all events shall cease at or on before 10 p.m. Staff will recommend that the application for the conditional use of the tax map 034-099-002 be approved with the condition that all events shall cease at or before 10 p.m. Pickens County Planning Commission now forwards this request to the Board of Commissioners for your review. What is your will on this particular request?
I make a move that we accept their recommendations.
I second.
Have a moving second. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, thank you. That has been approved. All right, then we're getting on down to the text amendment on item 3. Since item 2 is deleted under the TA 916-004, we have now 3 text amendment regarding the commercial outdoor firing and shooting ranges. All right. On July 11th, the Planning Commission reviewed 2 proposed text amendments and give recommendations. Chapter 67, Appendix A, Section 15, Item 10, states that the Board of Commissioners shall have 90 days to render a final decision after the Planning Commission has made a recommendation. Since I will be out of the office for a training conference on August 18th, okay. Pickens County staff request the text amendments. Commercial outdoor firing and shooting ranges. Number 1, add a new definition for this use. And 2, the use must obtain conditional use approval from the BOC in Highway Business District, prohibited in all other districts. A minimum undisturbed buffer of at least 500 feet along property lines adjacent to abutting residential use properties and or residential districts. Area where firing activity takes place shall be at least 500 feet from all property lines. Application shall list proposed hours of operation as part of the conditional use application. Protective natural or artificial barriers must be approved to prevent bullets, shells, or pellets from traveling to human occupied areas. And the application shall provide a copy of liability insurance as part of the conditional use application. The Planning Commission recommends approval to these changes. All right, what is your will on this one?
Move to accept the recommendation.
All right.
Second.
Mr. Barnes agrees to second that recommendation. Ms. Denny also, any further discussion? None being, all that in favor, let it by saying aye. None opposed, thank you. All right, then we got item 2, RLF Talking Rock Properties, which is Graham Bree, Mark Chastain, Ed Marger as representatives, requested text amendment. Subdivisions having lot size of 10 acres or greater in a gated communities could have gravel private streets with a minimum of 40-foot right-of-way. Code requires residential developments to be on paved streets with a minimum of 60-foot right-of-way. The planning condition reviewed this, and the planning condition recommended denial. What is your?
I recommend denial based on the things we've been talking about, that we could end up having to take it in the county at some point.
That's correct.
So I make a motion.
Second.
We have moving a second for denial. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, let know by saying aye. None opposed, thank you. All right. That one. All right, item number C is the approval of a drug and alcohol policy update. We have got these drug and alcohol policies updates here in front of us. We have kind of reviewed them. I think you two have looked through them. It's pretty well added too. Paula, Paula?
Yes.
Is there anything out of the ordinary? What have you actually changed on this one? Where we can inform them on that?
Basically updated for current laws and specifically the DOT policy guidelines.
Okay. In other words, what she's asked, Pickens County shall test in accordance with federal regulations. Employees required to have a commercial driver's license for the use of controlled substance that violate federal regulations and the misuse of alcohol. Just to revise on what we've already got.
Were there any major changes?
I don't think there's any major changes other than the fact we're trying to go by DOT
There was
guidelines in
not.
the state. Pardon?
There was no major changes. That was the biggest thing, was the DOT guidelines.
All right, I need a move and a second for controlled substances and alcohol use and testing policy from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Second.
Have a move and a second to accept. Any further discussion? None being, everybody in favor, let it know by saying aye. None opposed, thank you. All right, then that brings us down to item D, the approve and adopt millage rate. What is your all's, with all the discussions that we've had in the last 3 meetings, what's y'all's recommendations?
Well, after listening to the public and hearing them, I would like for us to look at something below 1 mil. I think we
can't hear you.
Is this working? With all of the discussion and hearing from the public, I would like for us to look at something below 1 mil. I do think that we do need some amount because of the need, but I would like to hear from you too about something maybe less than 1 mil.
I'd like for it to be 0.
That's all right.
I'd like. I'm a taxpayer too, and I don't like to pay no more than anybody else does. But talking to Faye and seeing what we had coming up, it looks like maybe 3/4. I know that don't jive good with anybody, but
Nope.
3/4 of a meal.
Nope.
No, half.
Believe me, I gave this a lot of thought, and we have taken a lot of people's consideration, verbs on consideration of what we're going to do with this. We did advertise it for 1 meal. The reason why we advertised it for 1 meal was give people a heads up, we can lower it. And we were looking towards the other elected officials to help us with this thing as we come forward. Jerry, Becky Cohen wanted us both to speak on this one. 3/4 of a meal rollback is something to think about. I guess I would have to probably go along with Jerry on the 3/4 of a meal, if that be the case, but I would like to hear Becky's opinion on that, because we can still work something out. Faye, you got any other?
I looked at those amounts today, that would make the millage rate 7.95, or 7.22, and we just have to look at the budgets really carefully for next year.
Would you be able to get money in contingency at that amount?
Well, we'll really have to make some budget cuts to get the $500,000 in contingency, but we really need to do that.
And what about the town? Would it affect our ability to pay off the town?
No, hopefully if we can reduce the town next year by at least $500,000. That's what we're working to do every year.
That's if you had 3/4 of a million.
Yes.
Did you look at anything, have we ran numbers below that?
Hey, Rob, could you pass that mic, please?
The question that she asked was, here you go.
Yeah, I was just asking if we had ran numbers on any amount lower than that, but,
Can we make any more comments?
No. I move you accept the 3/4 meal. Reluctantly. We have a move that we accept the 3/4 meal. Do I have a second? All right, Miss Becky's going to set that. I'm going to second Jerry's meal increase to 3/4 of a meal. We have a move and a second. Any further discussion?
Did you say she accepted?
Pardon?
Seconded?
I did. I seconded. Becky's abstained right now, so I've seconded. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, let know by saying aye. Aye. None opposed? Any opposed? None opposed? The millage increase is passed, 3/4 meal.
So it's not us, folks.
Always has been.
All right, that brings us down to item number 11, guest and comments. Anybody have any comments?
Very disappointed.
Yeah.
We could have kicked this can down the road for another year and let them get these budgets straight, because you're setting the millage rate for 2016. They just said we're 5%. under for 2016. That's $1 million, folks, laying around that you got to quit playing in.
And why wouldn't you just keep kicked around for anything less than 3/4 of the meal? She said they didn't do it.
I just had a question.
Yes, sir.
You know, I run large budgets, actually larger than this. But if you have a budget that is 5% under on expenditures year to date, what is this drastic change that we need 13.8% above this year's budget that we're currently under?
Faye, you want to explain that?
I mean, I saw it broken down, but just the one or two biggest things that changed 17 over 16.
With what we heard from the sheriff's department, y'all can talk to Donnie himself, but what you've heard from the sheriff's department, what we're looking at for public safety, other groups in behind here, we're behind Donnie altogether for the 1 mil. We are now going to bring it down to 3/4 of a mil and bring from that one. Public safety has got to have some money to get public safety, fire and rescue.
And when is the vote for the 2017 actual budget, not the mill rate increase? It's probably in. We will start budget hearings in about 2 to 3 weeks, I think, in fact. In about 2 to 3 weeks, you're more than welcome to come to those hearings. Yeah. Joe?
Rob, at those hearings, we weren't allowed to speak previously at those hearings. Are the citizens going to be allowed to speak at those? No, we did speak between meetings. I'm not saying it was a gag order. But during these meetings, if you people haven't attended them, we're not allowed to say Alan comes in with his probate court. Alan, are you probate? I'm sorry.
Magistrate.
You come to probate court if you want.
Anyway, if Alan comes in, we can't speak while he's talking to the commissioners about what he wants for his money. We can talk to the commissioners after he leaves. I don't agree with that. I think it would be helpful as long as people keep it concise. Question right there. I think we ought to be able to speak at those types of meetings.
Well, what happens, Joe, on those is the fact that you can speak after, and then, because that's not voted on in those budget hearings. These are just open processes on working the budget down after, or tweaking it in, or whatever you want to call it. But after we get the budget work, then you can comment after that is done. Doesn't mean that's locked in stone by no means, because we still got another process to go to for approval.
Well, I just remember there were times where we would have liked to ask a question about a certain, I can't remember a specific, but say Donnie is in there, and he's saying, I need this for this. We don't get to say, well, it's why can't we do it a different way? Maybe you restrict it, because I know that could get out of hand, but maybe you restrict it to a 1 minute maximum question, and back and forth.
That was something we might consider. Let's talk to our county attorney, and see if we can work something out on that. Yeah, Will.
Something that we need to address. Being in a couple of these meetings, in order to move forward from where we are and not be in this position again, the first thing we have to do is Pickens County has to do a full countywide reassessment of properties. We haven't done it since 2000, which means that it's not correct, which means it's not equitable. Once that's done, then we can look at that amount. If you look at the counties around us who have done that tax assessment, they have found as much as a surplus of $50 to $70 million in that property assessment. Okay? Once that's done, then you address the budget issues, which would help take care of the TAN that we're currently having to borrow. And it would also give us the opportunity to look at a senior school tax exemption, because that affects the entire budget income.
What about disabled veterans? Right.
Currently?
When we moved from Texas,
Yes, ma'am.
where 100% disabled veterans had a exemption,
I'm a veteran myself. I understand.
And I don't understand why you have to pick one or the other. If veterans are huge commodities, to have veteran-owned businesses, et cetera, so I would just, if that is the case where we haven't reviewed that for a very long time and we may have this big surplus, then maybe we can afford these exemptions for seniors and 100% disabled veterans or
And
whatever. the case may be.
service people from EMS,
That's correct.
wounded or widows of
Right.
military or police service.
Right.
But the assessment is 15 years behind countywide is how we start the math. You have to know what your value of your product is, which is Pickens County, and then what you can deliver to your customers. That's how you set the price, and that's how you set your marketing, that's how you set everything. For all of you that have been in business, you know that. If you don't know what your product is worth, then you don't know how much you can spend to market that product. And that's what we definitely need to do.
And if anybody's in favor of that, what we need to do, if y'all will send letters to here, we will pass them on to the Board of Tax Appraisers that actually handles those issues. So that can be directed to them and let them make that decision. Mr. Mattern is the chairman of that particular board. So that would be a good approach if we make that happen. Yes,
How do
ma'am.
you get on the board of assessors? Because I want to nominate him.
There will be some openings coming on the board. Normally, probably, I think it's this year or next year.
I think there may be a couple next year.
Next year, I think there's a couple of openings that'll be coming up next year, and the county commissioners get to pick who sits on that board, and we'll be willing to look at that, because it's been a struggle over the years to get somebody to serve on this board. But if we can make that happen, then once they're appointed on the board, of course, the way the state's got it set up, then you know, the commissioners or the politicians cannot have any influence over this board. They're a self-attained entity that the tax appraiser's office works for them. So that's how it operates.
Because I think he's right on target. If everybody paid their fair share, we don't have a problem.
Yes, sir.
Right now, you're not executing on the budget to the percentage you're supposed to. Come the end of the year, if you haven't executed on that budget by department, what happens to the unexecuted money? Does it go back into a general fund? Is it retained by the department?
It's retained as fund balance.
Fund balance, goes in as fund balance, works towards fund balance.
And also the cash budget.
Where? Yes, sir.
Last year, you did we had a situation where we had a lot of employees that were trying to say, please don't kill my job. We had a lot of people that, you know, were worried about the job. And you found a way to keep the taxes pretty flat. What I'm asking is, when I look at 14%, I say, what in the heck changed from this year besides, it's like everybody came at you and wanted more money. And my only question is who did you say no to? I mean, really and truly, there's just a lot of people. Everybody had their hand out this year. And what's the difference between this year and last year? This is what I want to know.
That would have to be asked to the other elected officials that are here, and you can talk to them out there in the hallway. They can explain it to you. I can't speak for the judicial. I can't speak for the sheriff's department. But as I say, as we go forward, we're going to be working and looking at those budgets with them in the room as we tweak forward. And you're more than welcome to sit on those meetings.
14% is just bad optics. That just shocks everyone.
It's not 14, but I can't remember what.
13.
Yeah.
The military
That's
is
all
what they say,
Yeah.
but that's different, that's number of numbers. The
Right.
budget is 5.94.
Yeah, 5.94 on the budget is what the percentage rate. Is that correct? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hope you all have a good weekend. I know it's a tough pill to swallow. We're all not happy about it because we have to pay it too. But y'all have a good week, and we will hopefully get through these. Thank you.